What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be looking at Anti-Recoil for the Warzone Season 4 Community Pack on the Cronus Zen. Before we get started, if you need any help with the general setup of this pack on your Zen, I'll put a link in the description to that video, and I'll try to put it somewhere on the screen as well. So in this video, we're going to go through the setup, and then at the end of the video, I'll post some gameplay of me using the guns that we set up in this video, all the tuning we did during the video. So let's get on to the anti-recoil. So here we are in Zen Studio. And before we get too far into that, maybe a little bit about what anti-recoil is and how it works. So I'm taking a lot of this from the manual. So basically, recoils when your weapon moves on its own while firing, right? The effect of the weapon moving. Anti-recoil reduces this erratic movement, making your shots more accurate and more likely to hit your target. For example, without anti-recoil, your weapon may pull up when you fire, and then with anti-recoil, your weapon will stay on target and fire straight. So each weapon has a unique recoil pattern, and then when we adjust them correctly with the anti-recoil, it simply combats the vertical and sometimes even the horizontal aspects of this. So when the game causes the weapon to pull up, the anti-recoil will pull it down, and it'll be on a level for your shot. So here we are on the pack, the Season 4 Community Pack, and we're under this anti-recoil option, right? So right now it says disabled, and there's two options in here: enabled and then hybrid. And then they both have an inverted option as well. So what's the difference between hybrid and normal anti-recoil? Well, the aim assist and other packs and scripts will only work in a specific range. That means, like, if you push your right stick more than 20% in a direction, the aim assist for the pack or script will turn off, so that the screen doesn't shake and disturb your aiming. Aim assist was never really always on. It does have a threshold where it turns off. You almost need to have your aiming stick in a resting position for it to be on. However, aim assist in this pack and other community Call of Duty packs will never turn off. It's designed to always stay on, and while also not disturbing your aim. And that's the reason why it's so sticky, as a lot of other users have mentioned. So the aim assist and other scripts does turn off when anti-recoil is enabled and it's actively being used. They don't work together, and that's the reason why it's turning off. With the hybrid anti-recoil setting in this pack, works by having the anti-recoil and the aim assist both active at the same time, and this is why it's so powerful. Do note though that if you're testing the effectiveness of the anti-recoil, the hybrid one has to be against a player. You can't test it against a wall like a lot of anti-recoil setups are. And then also note that your in-game dead zone, stick layout, and sensitivity must match the settings on your GCI, or the anti-recoil, it just won't work properly. So we're going to turn that anti-recoil on enabled because we're just testing against the wall. We're not testing hybrid, but that's what hybrid is. One of the things that we'll be using for the tuning of our weapon in the game is the jump toggle. So what that is you hold either your share or your view button and you press your left trigger or L2 to go to the anti-recoil quick edit menu on your Zen, on the OLED of your Zen. So you can adjust the recoils on the fly. You don't have to keep coming back to Zen Studio to do that. We've already talked about all the options in the GCI menu. If you need a refresher on all that, there's a setup video I did, and I'll post it in the cards somewhere and also in the description below. So here in Zen Studio, we're going to go ahead and make sure our anti-recoil is set to enabled. And then we're going to set up a weapon profile. The primary weapon I'm going to use is the MG82, and the secondary weapon I'm going to use is the Milano. So let's find the MG82 here in the list. So there's our MG82, and we need the Milano as our secondary. There we go. So we have the MG82 as our primary for profile 1. Profile 1 secondary is the Milano. Both right now are set to just the stock anti-recoil values set by the devs when they're creating the mods. As you can see, they're both 0, 0 on both anti-recoil values. The base anti-recoil is set up for each gun individually, and it's set up on a gun with no attachments. That's why we need to fine-tune these once we have the attachments that we want for our guns. Real quick before we jump into game, I wanted to show you the other settings we have on the test profile here. So I do have aim assist enabled, and as I said in the main setup video, I lower the aim assist ADS strength and step. So those are both lowered, and then I have the rapid fire mod on, and that's for testing the rapid fire guns, burst fire guns, things like that. And then I also enable hair triggers, and that should be it. Okay, let's head over to the game. All right, so here's the loadout we're going to be using for the MG82. It's the quote-unquote meta setup. It's the agency suppressor, the task force barrel, axial arms, 3x scope, a field agent grip, and the 150 round magazine. Some of these can be changed in and out and don't affect recoil at all. And then here is our Milano setup. Again, it's the quote-unquote meta setup, but I put a sight on mine. I don't like the iron sights on this gun so much, but agency's pressure, task force, tiger team, my sight, and then the 55 round drum mag. So let's jump into Plunder and start customizing. Okay, so here we are in a game of Plunder. I'm going to test the SMG at 25 meters and the SMG at 10 meters. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to turn the game pack off, and we're going to get the initial recoil value. So this is what it looks like out of the box, no mod at all. So we're going to turn that game pack off, as you see on my Zen here, and shoot. This is no input from me at all. It just goes straight up, right? So here's with the base anti-recoil value for the Zen. So this is no adjustments, as you can see, 0, 0. Here's our baseline. As you can see, we're pulling down a little bit here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that info, and if your recoil is pulling down, you go to a if your recoil is pulling up, you go to a positive number. If it's pulling down, you go towards a negative number. So we know we're going down, not too crazy. I'm going to put it at a -2, and we're going to try it again. So now we're pulling up a little bit. Maybe we'll hit a -1. And we can see we're pulling to the left now. So now we can go to our x-axis. And if we're pulling left, we want to go to the right, a positive number. And if we're pulling right, we would go to the left, a negative number. So we're pulling to the right. So let's go with a +2 here. So we straightened out, but now we're getting some down action on this. We're going to go ahead and reload. We're going to look at our Y, and we'll maybe make that a -2 as well. See what that ends up looking like for us. And this is kind of the balancing that you have to do. So, I mean, that's pretty good. We started to go down a little bit there, but that's where your user input needs to come into play too, right? So for instance, we're still at our 25 meters. Now if I put in some user input, right? So we're at our -2, or I'm sorry, what are we at? -2, +2, okay? Let's do this with a little bit of user input. So that was a full magazine That's not a bad grouping. I mean, it's never going to be like the laser beam, right? Like, sure, I could probably do a laser beam at 10 meters, right? But we don't play at 10 meters. This gun's not a 10-meter gun, right? So that's kind of what you do. You get the best grouping possible, and then you remember that your aim input's going to vary too. So take that into account as well. So next we're going to go to our Milano, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to jump up here, go to 10-meter distance, bring up our menu. So remember, when we pull this quick menu up, it's always going to go to profile 1, weapon 1, which is our primary. So we need to cycle down until we get to our secondary. And then again, we're going to turn this game pack off and see what our recoil is like. So it's really not that crazy. Turn our game pack on. Now we're at base recoil. Base recoil wants to pull us down. So what do? We come to our secondary y-axis. We're getting pulled down, so we're going to go a negative number. Still going down a little bit. Let's make that number a little bit more negative. And now we're noticing a little bit of a right turn. So we're going to make that number negative since it's pulling to the right. We want to go right a little bit. So we're still getting a little bit of down and a little bit of right. Get some ammo here. So let's go negative again here. Try to straighten this out a little bit. So we're still going down. Make that a -4. Still a little bit down, make that a -5. Try to find a clean spot on the wall. Let's go -6, and let's move that one more -2. So we can probably pull the secondary X a little bit more left. I'd say we can keep going a little bit more too. Okay, we're back with some ammo now. So we're still at our -6, -5. Continue to tune this at 10 meters. So we still got a little bit of down and a little bit of right. So let's bump them both one more. Let's bump the right one more. That one's pretty close. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but that's pretty good right there. And then again, we add in player input. So let's get some more ammo and we'll add player input again. Okay, got some more ammo. Let's do this again with some player input. So that's with me just making little micro adjustments as the gun's shooting. That's pretty good. Aim assist is going to make it even better when you have that on and you're firing at a person. Those are just good groupings, you know, with the player input for both guns. And that's kind of how you do it, right? That's how you go about making your micro adjustments. Adjust your X, adjust your Y. So we ended up here with a -7, -7 for this sensitivity for these specific settings. And you would just do this for your settings. Put your settings on your game, make sure they match your GCI, and you just come here and tune your gun in, making those little adjustments everywhere you go. So a few things to note here at the end. We did all of this tuning on profile 1, as you can see there. But if you're going to be tuning guns for multiple profiles at the same time, make sure you have the correct profile loaded before you start, or you're going to end up tuning the wrong one, and you won't see the effects. You know, you won't see the effects of your adjustments because you're tuning on the wrong profile. So you have to double check, and to change your profile, you hold the viewer share, and it's then L1 or LB. So it looks like this, profile 1. You would just change it to the profile you want to use, right? Hit B or circle, and then it backs you out, and now you're saved. Okay. And then another thing I wanted to note is when you're tuning guns on a profile that's not profile 1, be aware that every time that you enter that anti-recoil quick edit menu on your Zen, it takes you to primary gun on profile 1, not the current profile that you have selected. So if you're tuning guns on profile 4, it's still going to take you to profile 1 of your primary weapon. So you make sure you navigate through that. So that would look something like this. So say we're on profile 4, right? And then we want to edit a gun there, it automatically takes me to profile 1 primary weapon. So we would have to cycle here until we get to profile 4, and then there's your primary and secondaries, and you just cycle through them. And you have to make sure you don't slip up here, or else it's just not going to work for you, and it's going to be frustrating because it's going to look like you're not doing things. And so just double check that while you're tuning your guns. Well, that's it for the anti-recoil values. As always, my Discord's linked in the description below. If you need any help, feel free to join, or even just drop a comment in this video. And if you don't feel like, tuning all of your guns, I have a Patreon that supports the channel. Our members on Patreon get access to a spreadsheet that I'm always updating that gives you recoil values for all the guns with the quote-unquote meta attachments for 6 different sensitivities, 3 all the way through 8, and that's linked in the description as well. Lastly, if you want to read up on other aspects of the game pack, I'll link the game pack manual in the description as well. Again, thanks for watching. If you liked the video and you learned something new, please drop a like and consider subscribing to the channel. There'll be many more videos on specific guns and loadouts and features of the game pack and features that are upcoming for the game pack. And now I'll leave you with some gameplay of the guns we just tuned. Enjoy, and I'll see you on the next one.
And I guess